Do you remember writing in your diary that freedom is the freedom to say 2 and 2 make 4?
Yes.
How many fingers am I holding up, Winston?
4.
And if the party says it is not 4 but 5, then how many?
4.
180. How many? 190. How many fingers, Winston?
4. 5. 4. Anything you like. Only stop the pain. Stop.
Winston.
How can I help seeing what's in front of my face? 2 and 2 make 4.
Sometimes they're 5, sometimes 3, or all of them at once. You must try harder.
There seems to be a movement afoot to say that there is no intrinsic value, and that so long as the market determines the value of something, its value is really subjective, and therefore anything that has a market will have value. Well, in a world where we have fake Facebook friends, fake food, fake politics, I guess the final step is to have fake values, right? I mean, if everything is subjective, then there is no right and wrong, right? So let's look at this subjective versus intrinsic wealth debate. For intrinsic value, the best definition in the context of a currency is that it has value even when it's not used as a currency. So let's look at different forms of currency to see if they have any intrinsic value outside its use as a currency. Bitcoin is probably most glaring that it has no intrinsic value when it is not used as a currency. It is merely a binary code. 97% of the dollars that are in existence are in digital form, and therefore most of the dollars that are in existence have no intrinsic value, as it cannot be used for anything outside of its currency. Then there is fiat paper money. These are clearly better than the digital dollars because they can be used to start a fire, wallpaper your house, create paper darts, toilet paper, or even wipe your nose. Or in the case of Weimar Germany, they could even be used to build toy forts. So yes, there is some intrinsic value to the dollar. Then there is copper and nickel coins, because copper and nickel can be used in many different ways outside of the form of currency. And for many years, they were quite often overvalued in their nominal value versus their intrinsic value. But now that we've had strong inflation, are starting to go beyond the subjective value that the government put on them. The next form of money is gold. J.P. Morgan once said that gold is money and everything else is credit. While a good portion of gold is used for money, outside of it, there is a great demand for electronics and jewelry. The other benefit to gold is that it can be taken anywhere and traded even amongst enemies. In fact, throughout all of history, many commodities have been used as money, but their intrinsic value far outweighed their use as money. Hemp, for example, has got thousands of uses and was once used to settle debts because it had so many uses. In fact, a hemp harvest is on the back of a 1914 $10 Federal Reserve note. Oil today is the most versatile commodity and is used in everything in our modern day life. It is actually the only thing that's backing the dollar through the petrodollar trade. But oil and hemp are very difficult to use as money in day-to-day life. Throughout history, silver has been used as money in more times and more places than gold. To function as money, a monetary item should possess a number of features. It needs to be a medium of exchange. It should have the liquidity and be easily tradable. It should be easily transportable. Precious metals have a high value to weight ratio, and it should be durable. To be a unit of account, it should be divisible into small units without destroying its value. Precious metals can be coined from bars or melted down into bars again with a low percentage cost. It should be fungible, that is, one unit or one piece is equivalent to another unit, which is why diamonds and works of art and real estate are not suitable as money. It must have a specific weight or measure or size to be certifiably accountable. The third feature is that it needs to be a store of value. It should be long-lasting, durable, and it must not be perishable or subject to decay. It should have a stable value. It should be difficult to counterfeit, and the genuine must be easily recognizable. Today's silver is not used as money since it does not circulate, but it still provides a crucial role as a store of value. Why do silver and gold have value?
Why is gold worth some $20 an ounce?
I don't know, because it's scarce.
1,000 men say go searching for gold. After 6 months, one of them's lucky. 1 out of the 1,000. His find represents not only his own labor, but that of 999 others to boot. That's 6,000 months or 500 years, scrabbling over mountains, going hungry and thirsty. An ounce of gold, mister, is worth what it is because of the human labor that went into the finding and the getting of it.
Now think about how much energy, labor, ingenuity, and time that goes into finding that silver and refining it.
The mining company produces silver bars, the composition of which is 93 to 97% pure silver. It sells the bars to a refinery, which further purifies them for sale to industries. The action begins down in the mine, where geologists point a niton gun at various spots in the rock face. The device detects the levels of 40 different elements, including silver. Silver in its natural state isn't silver colored at all, it's charcoal gray. Those silver-looking deposits are actually zinc and lead. Miners drill holes in the silver-rich areas the geologists pinpointed, then insert sticks of dynamite. After the blast, carts haul the chunks of rock, called ore, to the surface. Geologists then test ore piles and blend them as required to achieve a consistent amount of silver content per kilogram of ore. The ore first goes into the primary crusher. The machine's huge steel teeth break up the big chunks into smaller pieces. Those pieces then drop through grates below into the secondary crusher, which breaks them down into even smaller pieces. Those go into vibrating cone crushers, which pulverize them into tiny pieces. A conveyor transports the crushed ore to the ball mill. At this point, the ore pieces are roughly 6 millimeters big. As the mill's large cylinder rotates, steel balls bounce around inside, grinding the ore into powder. A water circulation system flushes the silver-rich powder out of the cylinder and into large tanks which keep the water moving. To separate and dissolve the metals the powder contains, workers pour in acid. 72 hours later, the rock waste now settled at the bottom, the solution containing dissolved silver is pumped through filter presses. The filter plates are treated with a zinc-based chemical which attracts silver molecules. As the solution passes through, the plates trap particles containing silver, forming a layer of black powder called silver precipitate. This precipitate is composed of approximately 50% silver and 50% waste, the waste being a jumble of various metals, dirt, and other impurities. To separate the silver from the waste, they first dry the precipitate in a gas furnace for a couple of hours. In the mining company's lab, technicians continuously test ore samples to determine the grade, the term for the quantity of silver per kilogram of ore. They heat the samples to 1093 degrees Celsius for about an hour to burn off the impurities. What's left after the burn-off are the silver and other metals, such as lead, zinc, copper, selenium, and cadmium. Lab technicians then treat the samples with a chemical that prevents silver from burning off and put them back in the oven. When the samples come out about an hour later, all the other metals have burnt off and only silver is left. They weigh the silver and compare it to the weight of the original sample in order to calculate the grade. The key to running a profitable mine is to ensure that the grade is consistently within certain parameters. Back at the mill, workers put the now dried silver precipitate into an oven, along with chemicals which prevent silver from burning off. Approximately 4 hours later, the silver and waste have separated and melted. Workers pour them into bar-shaped molds. The silver, being heavier, settles at the bottom. Workers skim off the waste floating on top. In less than 5 minutes, the molten silver cools and hardens, enabling workers to extract what is now a silver bar. The mining company sells the bars to a refinery for processing into industrial-grade silver.
It's crazy to think that all those tons of earth were moved just to find 1 ounce of silver, and right now we can buy it all for less than a dinner for 4 at our local sports bar. Silver is an indispensable metal. Next to oil, silver is the most widely used commodity ever, and it has more than 10,000 uses. As technology progresses and expands, silver's usefulness will explode even further. Its unique characteristics are unlike any other commodity in the world. It is the most reflective of all metals. It is the greatest conductor of both heat and electricity. It strongly resists corrosion. It is the second most malleable and ductile metal next to gold. It has recently been discovered to be a very effective antimicrobial and bacterial metal. It's used in batteries, bearings, brazing, soldering, catalysts, clothes, coins, electrical components, electronics, electroplating, photography, medical applications, jewelry, silverware, mirrors, coatings, solar energy, and water purification. Silver is generally used in such small quantities, and its unique characteristics make it irreplaceable. This is what makes its price inelastic. All commodities have a self-correcting price mechanism except for silver. If a commodity's price rises too high, demand drops off as people seek substitutes or supply rises to meet the demand, thus lowering the price. This mechanism does not exist for silver. Silver is typically used in very small quantities and high-tech components, and there is no substitute for it, so a manufacturer or customer will have to absorb any price increase. Silver is now starting to be used in clothing to reduce odors caused by bacteria. What is remarkable about it is that by weight, silver represents only 1/40,000th of the total of inputs on that shirt. When used in such tiny quantities, silver's price is almost irrelevant. Over 20 million tons of polyester sportswear produced every year. The textile industry consumes 1,200 tons of silver annually. That's 38 million ounces. Let's say, for example, the average computer contains 1/10 of an ounce of silver. That would mean that there is about $3 of silver in the computer. Now let's assume the computer in question costs $1,500. If silver were to go to $1,000 an ounce, the same silver in that computer would be $100. Do you think Apple Computer is going to throw its arms up in the air and cry that they can no longer sell computers because silver is too expensive? No, they will raise the price of the computer and probably advertise that it has the most silver in it. Do you think the average consumer is going to say, I would buy a computer at $1,500, but at $1,600, no way? No, they'll find a way to get the extra $100 so they can read the latest online news about Miley Cyrus. It's not just consumer products that are at risk. It's the companies, the industries, the nations that are at risk. Apple has a market cap of $400 billion. If a strategic commodity like silver starts having shortages, their billion-dollar empire is endangered. Companies will go into panic buying, securing any amount of physical silver they can because their entire value-added business is dependent upon it. They will not be buying SLV or certificates of deposits. Only the real physical silver will suffice. They will whip out their huge checkbook and stock up. Now you can see why rising prices actually increase demand. And it's not just the computer industry that's relying upon silver. It's the multi-billion-dollar industries like energy, medical, and the military. And soon the banking industry, as their debt money system collapse. This directly affects national destinies. Governments held approximately 10 billion ounces of silver in 1950 and have been supplying that physical stock steadily into the open market for years. Today there is no more surplus left to sell. The nations that manage their resources the best will win the future. Unlike industrial demand, monetary demand has no limits. The monetary demand will eventually send silver to the moon. How will quadrillions of fiat paper money flow into less than 1 billion ounces of silver? It's impossible. Paper is poverty. It is the ghost of money and not money itself. Thomas Jefferson. I have seen bright and intelligent men fail to understand that the electronic digits in their computer screens are not real money. They always do get it when you hold an ounce of gold or a 100-ounce bar of silver. It's a frightening aspect of our society that we've become so detached from real money that most of us cannot even comprehend real money. Do yourself a favor this week and go to your local coin shop and just touch an ounce of gold or a big fat shiny bar of silver. Then look at that wad of paper in your wallet, or worse, the digits in your bank account, and tell me honestly, where would you rather invest your future?